So Bledisloe Cup match 2 is here, and it is the last time that these two sides get to play each other, theoretically, before the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup. That is the earliest that they can face off again, so both sides will want to make that impact in this last game of the Cup. Now, we already know that New Zealand have got it secured. Australia can draw the series if they are victorious here, but it is going to be a very tough task in Dunedin. In this preview, we will be looking through at the lineups. We'll be looking at the previous fixture for these two sides when they did go head-to-head, alongside some key players and a prediction at the end. But for the All Blacks, they have made a huge amount of changes in this match compared to the first test. Although with being 1-0 up, they can afford to do so. In the front row, they've gone with Tamaiti Williams, Samisoni Taukei'aho, and also Nepo Laulala. So 3 changes from what they did have in the last Bledisloe Cup game. Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock, a lot of experience there in the lock-in duo. And then a debut at number 6 for Samapeni Finau. Sam Cane returns from injury, and Ardie Savea slotting in at number 8. Then the backline, Finlay Christie, his first start of 2023. Damian McKenzie takes that fly half jersey back. Lester Fainga'a-Nuku returning from injury on the left. In the midfield, Anton Leonard-Brown and Braden Ennor. And then on the right, a big debut, a much anticipated debut. Although that normally means that there's that little bit more pressure. And this is actually his only chance that he will have before that World Cup squad is selected on Monday. It is Shaun Stevenson. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He will be marking up with Marika Korompede and then Will Jordan slotting in at number 15 to close out the All Blacks side, transitioning from right wing to fullback for this game. So that means no Beauden Barrett, that means no Geordie Barrett, that means no Scott Barrett, that means that Fozzie's very sad because he hasn't got his Barretts, but this side still has a lot of potential to be able to do well in this contest. Damian McKenzie and Finlay Christie, new combination that we haven't seen before, mainly because Damian McKenzie normally left out of the bench when Richie Mo'unga is in the starting lineup. Lester Fainga'a-Nuku returning from injury on that left wing. Let's go head-to-head with Mark Ngawanganitawasi. It's a battle with the long last names, and I feel like both of those guys could have big impacts throughout this game down in Dunedin. Now looking through at the All Blacks bench, they've gone with Dane Coles again. He did get the start in the match in Argentina. Ofa Tuangafasi and Fletcher Null, the other two in the front row. Then it's Tupavai and Luke Jacobson. There's actually a lot of Chiefs players who are making their way into the side for this match. I believe if you look through at the Crusaders and the Chiefs Super Rugby Pacific final, you will find a lot of the names that are in this AB side. I believe they've got about maybe, I'm going to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many Chiefs did I say there were? Like 9? So I believe there's about 17 players from the Chiefs and the Crusaders in this All Blacks 23, which does mean there should be some chemistry there from that Super Rugby Pacific season. But overall, even with a lot of changes, still a very strong All Black side. For the Wallabies, they have gone with almost the opposite in terms of their tactic. They've gone with a very similar lineup to what they had in Bledisloe Cup match 1. And the reasoning behind it, I believe, is Eddie Jones, he's trying to build up a little bit of depth. I believe he's trying to build up a little bit of chemistry between the players who he has got out. I believe he's trying to build up a little bit of chemistry with the players that he has got there. Perhaps a little bit similar to what he wants to have as that World Cup lineup when it does come around in a little bit of time. Also, Australia in a warm-up game, they will be taking on France, and we all know how entertaining that series was. That series was when they both went head-to-head. But in the starting lineup, Angus Bell keeps a spot at number 1. Number 2, they have stuck with Dave Parecki, and number 3, due to the injury of Alan Alaratawa and Taniela Tupou, they were going to have 2 changes, and Pone Fa'amausili, the big man from the Rebels, gets that opportunity. At tight head prop in the lock-in duo, Nick Frost keeps a spot at 4, but Richie Arnold moves into the starting side. So the first time we aren't seeing Will Skelton in the starting lineup for the Wallabies so far. Tom Hooper moves back to number 6. Fraser McWright goes into 7. And at number 8, the big man Rob Valentini. I always mention it, him versus Savea is very entertaining. Neither of their legs stop moving throughout the 80 minutes, even when they've got a man trying to tackle them. There could be quite a few extra metres made between those two. Number 8's Tate McDermott and Carter Gordon. They keep that combination going for a second week in a row with McGordon. Sounds like a new item from McDonald's. But McDermott, he is going to be the captain for the Wallabies in this game. Marika Korompede out on the left wing. Samu Karevi and Jordan Pattaya in the midfield. Mark Nwanganitawasi out on the other wing, and then Andrew Callaway at number 15. So actually no changes in this backline for the Wallabies, and other than lock and tight head prop, and a little bit of a reshuffle in the loose forward trio, pretty similar to what we did see in the last Bledisloe Cup test. Off the bench, pretty similar as well. Jordan Ulesi, James Slipper and Zane Ungor as the front row. Will Skelton and Rob Leota the other forward replacements. And then Nick White, Quade Cooper and Isaiah Perezi, the 3 back replacements for the Australians. But the last game that these two sides played off in, the score was in favour of the All Blacks, 38 points to 7. And it was actually relatively close for the first maybe 25 to 30 minutes. Both sides having their moments. First try of the match was scored by Shannon Frizzell. It was off the 5-metre line out after Scott Barrett absolutely smashed Tate McDermott in the tackle. To be fair to McDermott though, he got up. He was still well and truly up for the contest. I believe that is why he's got himself the starting lineup spot again. He's resilient. He'll take a big shot, he'll get up and he'll still try and find that break for the Wallabies. But the first try of the match scored by Shannon Frizzell. Second try though was scored by Rob Ballatini, so we did see a bit of a seesaw in the early stages of the match, but in the end the All Blacks, they just kept on pulling away, having more possession and then showing how clinical they could be in the important moments of the game. But the key players for these two sides, it's pretty tricky to pick for the All Blacks, seeing as so many players have been added in, but there are players who are key and there are players who need to be key. One being Shaun Stevenson, another Samapeni Finau. When you're on your All Blacks debut only about 2 days before the Rugby World Cup squad is selected, you need to have a lasting impact in the coach's mind and make him think, right, this guy's only just come in, but he has to be there when we head to France. So big opportunity for Shaun Stevenson and Finau in this game. They have to step up. If Super Rugby Pacific is anything to go by, both individuals should have solid games. Samapeni Finau, if he gets any sort of space, will be running with that ball. Has the slick offload as well, which could come in very handy for the ABs. And Shaun Stevenson, just that step and ability to break the line as well. Going to be very entertaining. A key player though for the All Blacks, I believe, will be Will Jordan here. Number 15 in this contest, has been playing right wing in the last 2 games of the Rugby Championship. Both games finding success. He actually holds a perfect record of scoring a try in every game he has faced Australia, so he seems like safe money when it comes to the betting odds. But he's playing fullback this time, whereas I believe a majority of those other starts have come at number 14. But he's been good under the high ball throughout the Bledisloe and the Rugby Championship, only getting to play a few games of Super Rugby Pacific due to injury, but he's already been able to recover from that, play some very impressive rugby, and I just feel like he will be the setup that they need to be able to run forward. If the Wallabies are kicking that ball in behind, then Will Jordan will certainly be running it back. Then also a key, I think, is going to be in this 4-pack. To be honest, it's probably Brodie Retallick. The reason I say that is last week up against Australia, he just didn't quite look himself. Was getting bumped off tackles, was giving away penalties. And with Scott Barrett in the form that he is, I believe that Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick at this point for that World Cup squad are almost fighting for that same spot to be alongside Barrett and the other coming off the bench. So this is a big game for Brodie Retallick. If he can step up here, I believe that the combination will be Retallick 4 and Scott Barrett number 5. And then that leaves you that question, where does Sam Whitelock go? He's just returned from injury. He too will be looking for a big game. And I think line-out time is somewhere that the All Blacks will certainly try and use that physicality to their advantage. Get that rolling maul going forward with some big men like Tamaiti Williams in that maul could be making the few metres. But for the Australians, straight away Mark Nwanganitawasi, he seems to be the player that even when Australia have their backs against the wall, he's able to create an impact. That is something that Eddie Jones certainly needs. A player that even when it is looking a little bit tough, is able to step up, make some extra metres, beat a couple defenders. And Mark Nwanganitawasi at the moment with his form is exactly that man. In the forward pack, I think Fraser McWright is going to be one of the keys for the Australians. We didn't get to see him in last week's game up against the All Blacks. I feel like his work in the breakdown is quite underrated. He's able to get over the ball, win a couple turnovers, and he also has a decent record in the Rugby Championship. Hasn't played a huge amount of games. Of course, this is outside of the Rugby Championship, with it being the Bledisloe but still up against that same opposition in the All Blacks that they did play last week. So I think that he could be one to watch out for. Plays for the Reds in Super Rugby Pacific. But I would say if the All Blacks can get to the breakdowns early enough, it may mitigate Mick Wright. But I still think he should have a very solid game. But now we are up to that stage of score predictions. Now this game, it is going to be Dunedin, 2:35 p.m. in the afternoon. A little bit of a different time for a Bledisloe test. But I think that even with the changes that the All Blacks have made, they still look like a very strong team. Australia, they have slowly improved throughout all their games of the Rugby Championship, I believe, from where they were in that first game up against the Springboks to where they are now. I think that there's still that little bit more improvement that does need to be made. The All Blacks with so many changes that can work in their favour or it could work against them. But I believe because there's 17 or so Chiefs and Crusaders players, I don't think it's going to hurt them too badly. So I'm going to say that the All Blacks win this game 35 points to 15. I believe we're going to see a few more points on the board for the Australians compared to last week. But I think the ABs will still manage to get the job done. But thank you all very much for tuning in. We will be doing the live commentary on the channel, so be sure to check that out. Do let me know your score predictions in the comments down below. But if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.